samples. So you can see the versatility. If you will have one really good pattern, then with the pieces you can work and shape it. Now, this is also this pattern. This is a work shirt for me. I wear this sewing in my, so it looks more like an undershirt. I had a different collar on it, but I didn't like it. It's just too, so I cut it off and I put this binding on it. But I put the center front on the fold, and then this is nothing but a sleeve placket. Honestly, it's a sleeve placket is what it is. But you gotta have your wits about you when you do this. Flipping it upside down, and you need to be sure before you cut into it, before you sew it on and cut into it, that you've got it folding the right way. So make a few samples of this, and when you do it. Now, these are two-piece sleeves, and this is a Tana lawn, and they have some out here. It's not Tana lawn, but it's the same lawn fabric. These make wonderful, cool shirts. And you can lengthen your placket. This placket's quite short, and I put no button on it. I don't know why I did that. I just did it. And this one is much longer, and I put 2 buttons on it. So these are just nothing more than just design features. And so that's just another idea with a placket. Now, something I have not tried yet, but I realized that you could also change the shape of your placket. So if you say, imagine here that you want to bring this out like that and then down, and so you end up with a shape, you could do that. You could change the shape of the placket. You can change the width. Standard pattern making, they teach us that the extension, meaning from center front over to the edge, from center front over to the edge, from here to here, is the width of the button. I often on shirts, I buy buttons that work with the shirt. So this is like a 1/2 inch button. This one's even smaller. These are smaller, but I favor a 5/8 rather than a 1/2. I think you get just a little more overlap. Now, because I copied that, this shirt was an assignment for my pattern making training, and because I copied it from, this is an Anne Fontaine blouse that I copied. The assignment was we had to copy ready to wear, and this is a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch overlap. I feel like it's a little close, but I just like a little more overlap. That's just preference. But the more you do this, you'll sort of figure out what you like and what feels good to you. Yeah.
What size are those buttons again?
These look about a little less than 1/2. These are a little bigger than 1/4.
Okay.
But typically a shirt button is about a 1/2 inch. So, and sometimes larger, sometimes, I always think if you make a shirt and the buttons are too large, it looks like a clown top. You know, you gotta be really careful. You know, there's a fine line. Or if you put different color buttons, it can kind of look like a clown suit. But if you get the right combination and they're not too big, anything works. That's when I get to the stage of the buttons, I put it on my dress form and I just pin on different buttons, and I let them live there for a little while. And if I look up at that and I go, oh God, what was I thinking? Get rid of those. Now let's see. Oh, let's talk about a little bit closures. Typically we use buttons, but you can also use ties on a shirt. You could use snaps on a shirt. You can change the placement of the buttons. This is, I saw this in Threads. I don't particularly care for this shirt, but it's a nice example of placing your buttons close together, 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. That's a nice treatment as well. I think shirts probably wear better on the body if you have a button at the high figure point and a button at the waist, and then figure it out from there. And you know those little accordion things like that? Invest in one of those if you're going to make shirts. It's the easiest way to do buttons. You just spread that thing out, they're there. Now this one is not this is not the blouse you wear if you need to make a quick exit from your clothes. For whatever reason, we're not going to go there, but if you need to make a quick exit, this is a shirt that has 12 buttons on it. And these are button loops. Button loops work great too. If you deal with your button phobia, buttonholes, you can do button loops. Now this is actually a commercial pattern, and the pattern is actually made. The pattern actually brings the shirt together like this all the way down the front, and you have the button loop. I don't favor that because when it pulls open, you can see your skin. And I just don't think it looks not that I'm opposed to showing my skin or anything, I just don't think it looks very sophisticated or polished. So I just put a little button, an extension on the button. So there's just a little extension there, and then this goes like that. So this is a kind of really fun treatment. I actually get a lot of compliments on this shirt. So
I bet it looks good.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, so it's a bias on the back, straight of the grain. So yeah, and this is a little wing collar I made. This is just like a little color band, and you put a little wing on it, and then just fold it over. Super easy, and I'll show you where you can get these little patterns. All right, now let's talk a little bit about how you can sort of just change the whole look of the shirt. Now this is a shirt that, this is an Italian cotton that I bought at Britex, and these are great. This cotton's great, but I'm telling you, they wrinkle. Remember when you were talking about that? You made a shirt for someone and you said the fabric was beautiful, but it really wrinkles. And you really got to get after this with it. And I have an industrial steam iron, so you have to really get after this. But what I like about this is if you wear it like this, it just looks like a shirt, you know, a kind of just sort of plain striped shirt. But when you wear it, if you unbutton it, turn up the collar, then you find out that it's really all trimmed inside. So it changes the look of it. And I tend to wear my shirts with these shirts anyway. I like to wear them with the collar, the sleeves turned up. Yeah. So you end up with this. Now, out here on this front, right to the left of where the cash register is, there's a whole set of really pretty fabrics that are like this. They're like a lawn fabric, and there's some stripes with prints. And so I think these geometric stripes or geometric patterns with a tiny floral print look really beautiful. There's the one that's on the mannequin that it's a green and blue print, but it has navy blue. That goes beautifully with navy blue. So you could make your whole shirt out of the print and do all your detailing with a solid color, or you can have you could do your whole shirt in solid and then the detailing in the print. Just, you know, it's lots of possibilities. This is a shirt that's shaped with a princess scene from the shoulder. I really don't care so much for that. I don't use that so much anymore. I made this shirt quite a while ago. It's hard to iron and to get this shape. And this was a commercial pattern too. It's before I started and you can see it has too much ease in here. I couldn't get it out. Now I make these shirts, I put no ease in the sleeve at all. I do a 1-to-1. If I do anything, I might put a quarter, but I do particularly because this is a very hard edge fabric. So it's not soft, you can't shape it. These wools you can shape, but this you really don't. Now, this one is another combination. This is this shirt, and this is a shirt that I use Liberty of London, and I just happened to have both of these. It was just, you know, just there it was, and I went, oh, well, that's what I'm going to do with that. So I put this underneath. This is also fun too. This is a little double collar. This is an Anne Fontaine design. But you could put 2 collars on your shirts and there it can be really a nice look, and then a double cuff. And but again, I think that this is a fairly complicated paisley with, so the link here, that draws these together is color. And so for that reason, I think it works fairly well. So I think that's another way to go about designing shirts is with fabric, is changing the bias, changing the orientation of a stripe. Like here I use the stripe horizontal on the sleeve. This also does another thing too, that if you make your placket with this in the same direction, it really needs to match. And if you're a beginner, it just takes a while to figure out. And it's nothing. This is just measuring. This is the height of precision sewing. It is so much fun. So, but you can just kind of, this you can avoid it. All right. You can skip the angst of matching these things up and do that. Now this one is another one that looks just like a plain old shirt. And actually, I'm wearing this one. I've worn a lot. But when you open it up, it's one of my favorite things is ribbon. So this has ribbon down the side where the buttons are. Don't put it on the button side because it's really hard to make the buttonholes. And then because I wear my collars up, there's a little thing like that in the back. And then the cuff, again, this little split cuff, this is a men's shirting detail that I like a lot. Turn it back, and then you have a little ribbon.
The ribbon is applied, like when you cut out your collar band, you interface it, then you're applying your ribbon.
Yes.
Same thing with the placket or the inside.
Yes, yeah.
Same thing
On
with
the
cuff.
collar band, I
Okay.
will interface the inner collar band and then just sew the ribbon on. And then all you have to do is make sure you get these things lined up so they come out. This right here, this little bit right here, this is the trickiest part right there of the shirt making.
Yeah.
Because it has to, the top stitching, the edge stitching has to look good here. But if you wear your shirts, if you're never gonna unbutton your shirt, don't knock yourself out by it. But if you are, it has to look good here too, because this shows. And it took me a long, long time. I did right after I retired, I did 15 shirts in a year because I wanted to get good at it. And that's how I learned to measure. It's just measuring. It's just doing it. And so yes. Now, the other thing that I discovered is I just have never had good success with little rolled hems. I don't like how they look. I can't get them to look good. And so I do wear most of these shirts with jeans and I wear them out. So I want the hems to look good. So now I don't do hems anymore. I face my hems. So I have a facing here that I've used. This is a little tiny facing. This one has this is bias. This is just bias, like bias tape. This one, on this one, I just turned it outside rather than the inside. And then this one has this little bias.
And how wide is that little bias?
On these two shirts, I used a really narrow one, like a 1/4 of an inch. But usually, this one is about 1/2. And you know, use a bias maker. You know, quilters use them. And but there's so many fun things you can do. If you can do this and then treat it like ribbon, and you can make your own ribbon to go on. It's really fun.